Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Drinks in a Movie podcast. In this episode, Carissa actually joins me, and we're doing another episode in the Movies That Turn 30 series. So we'll be talking about John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness in just a moment here. But first, I'm going to do the drink for the day. I'm recording this separate from Carissa since we did it over Zoom. So, man, I should have pre-opened this. But I'm going to be trying out, everybody, the new Wild Turkey 101 aged 8 years. So, obviously, yeah, 8-year-old Wild Turkey 101. This used to be just, I guess, like a Japan-only release or something. I don't remember all the history about it exactly. But now this is supposed to be kind of a shelf regular, so there's still going to be your regular kind of 101, which I think is a blend of 6 to 8 years old, or maybe 4 to 8 years old, or something along those lines. And now we also get this age stated one. So I don't have a regular Wild Turkey 101 with me to compare, unfortunately, but I do have the 70th anniversary Jimmy Russell release, also aged 8 years, that came out, I think that was last year. I am going to compare this with it, so let me pour myself a little bit of this as well. And even though I don't have a regular Wild Turkey 101, I have a Kentucky Spirit, which is the single barrel version of 101, and mine is from 2023. This is from a Tyrone G, Rick number 9. So I'm just going to try this since, you know, we have different versions of it. I do have another store pick of Kentucky Spirit that supposedly is 10 years old, so maybe I'll compare that another time, but right now I just wanted to do something that, yeah, I don't know, is probably going to be a little closer. So here we go. So first I'm going to go in, I poured them all. Let me swirl this up. I'm going to do the new 8-year release first. So I haven't had any bourbon yet today, so this is my first drink of the day. And man, Wild Turkey is a perfect summertime bourbon. So right now I'm definitely getting a little bit of like, I'm going to say like your classic bourbon notes, right? Like your caramel, baking spice. I'd say this one's got some cinnamon on it. Ooh, got a lot of the alcohol on that one. Kind of air this out a little bit more. Definitely some oak. Like I already get the oak presence in here. It has a darker bit of a nose to it. Like maybe a little of that char, like a little bit of that burn. Before I taste, let me smell the other ones real quick too. So here's the 70th anniversary version. This one's pretty similar, but maybe a little more peppery. Like a little more like, yeah, spice on it. Like what kind of spice is that? Not a nut, maybe like just like a clove or an allspice. I got to go back and reference my nosing kit soon. It's been a while. And then here's the Tyrone G. This one's pretty muted. Yeah, that one I can't get much off of. So here we go. Let's taste the new Wild Turkey 101 8-year. Cheers. Wow. So first sip, I'm going to let it kind of linger before I start talking about it. There is a bit to say. I probably should have warmed up with something else, but yeah, here we go. Second sip. Yeah, so this one smelled a bit sweeter on the nose. This is like a robust, just like rugged, like just rugged tasting bourbon. A little drying on the palate, definitely like very oak forward, dark oak. Almost like it's older than 8 years. I don't know, maybe it's just because I haven't had a drink in like a week or so. So maybe I'm just not, so maybe I'm just not as used to it, but tastes a little bit older, like it's very drying. It's a little more on the kind of bitter oak side. Those sweet notes don't come out as much. I'd say it's more spice forward. Just really dark, very bold for sure. The finish goes away pretty quick. And yeah, not quite what I was expecting there. So let's go in now for the 70th anniversary. So this is also a 101. But the limited anniversary release in honor of Jimmy Russell. So here we go. So this was the one that had definitely a lot more spice on the aroma. Let's see if the palate matches. It's similar, definitely a little bit lighter, like even texture-wise, it seems a little lighter, not as drying, not as like robust and like punchy, but similar in terms of the spice. Yeah, it's just kind of like a lighter version. Like even on the texture, it's not like as not sparking my tongue as much, not drying it as much. A hint more of like that kind of Wild Turkey sweetness coming through. Yeah, just a hint more of the sweetness, like your bourbon caramel. But sometimes I get a little bit of like a interesting grape note on turkey, and that's coming through right here. All right. Interesting. Anyway, here we go. Let's try the Tyrone now. Still a little muted on the nose, so I'm just going to go in for the taste. Here we go. Wow. Pretty different experience on that one. So flavor-wise, pretty similar. I think even a little more sweetness coming off of the Kentucky Spirit Tyrone. Just a hint more of the sweet notes. Texture-wise, it is still kind of light and had the same kind of thinness as the 70th anniversary one did, but it really kind of took over my whole palate a little bit more. Like I cut up these reviews a little bit so they're not too long, but especially on first sips, I'll let it kind of sit on my palate, on my tongue for like several seconds before I take it in, and then I do my second sip just so I can like really try to get the most out of it. And that, it seemed like it was almost going to dissipate really quick. But I'd actually say that has like the longest finish, and it really took over the whole palate. Like I felt it along like my entire mouth, not just my tongue. And yeah, in that one, I mean, this bottle is like about half full, a little more than half full. So this one has had a lot of time to air out. I've only drinking from the 70th anniversary a couple times, so it's still pretty full. And then I did just break the seal on the 8-year, the new one. So those are factors, but yeah, that was interesting. Let me try that one again. Yeah, definitely more of the sweetness coming out. Your classic kind of bourbon plus Wild Turkey sweetness. I'm going to go back to the new 8-year. See what we got. Oh, now this smells really good. This smells like a cinnamon cookie. I like that nose. Yeah, cinnamon cookie, shit. 8-year on the palate. Yeah, that's still consistent, way darker, a lot richer on the tongue. Even almost to me has like a, again, I said the other ones were a little lighter. This one still has like a slightly thicker texture. Again, that could just be me. But yeah, still, I was wondering if maybe I just was getting that because it was the first sip. But going back to it after the other two, definitely a richer, bolder version. Heavier on the spice for sure. I don't get much of that like cinnamon on the, like I don't get much of a cinnamon spice on the palate like I do on the nose, which is kind of a bummer because I really like that aroma and it doesn't carry through. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, no regrets buying it. I think it was like $40 or something, $50. It's well worth trying. If you're into Wild Turkey, I'd say definitely pick one up. I wish I had a regular 101 to compare it with. Yeah, and I mean, it is different from the 70th anniversary for sure. Let me try that one again. Yeah, man, so thin by comparison. So I'll have to try these again, especially once it opens up. I have like a few other Kentucky Spirits. One that supposedly is 10 years old, but there's no age statement on it. And as far as I can see, there's not a way to like track down the details on the specific barrel. So maybe the store owner just told me it was 10 years old to sell it to me. I don't know. But I'll have to compare those as well. Maybe I'll do a blind tasting at some point. But yeah, Wild Turkey 101 8-year, great. I do miss the sweetness that I get on a lot of other Wild Turkey products. Again, could just be first sip of the day and the fact that I just opened it. But yeah, it's a bold, robust, kind of more spicy expression than what you might be used to if you tend to drink Wild Turkey 101 or Russell's Reserve. But yeah, it's worth checking out. So if you see it, go ahead and grab it. They're supposed to be, I think, like a mainstay on the shelves now, which is pretty cool. So yeah, everybody, that's it for this. Let's get into the movie now. We are discussing In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter. Cheers.
You're listening to the Drinks in a Movie podcast, hosted by Rudy Ruiz. Spoiler alert.
All right, yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Drinks in a Movie podcast. I'm back here with Carissa. We're doing another episode in the Movies That Turned 30 in 2025 series. So today we're going to be talking about In the Mouth of Madness by John Carpenter. I'd say one of his like more kind of less talked about films. This one is starring Sam Neill and Julie Carmen and Charlton Heston and some other folks. And yeah, I mean, let's get into it. I barely saw this one for the first time maybe a couple years ago because I'm a big Carpenter fan and I was trying to work my way through all his movies.
Mhm.
And this one I thought was kind of okay out the gate the first time I saw it. It's definitely like 90s Carpenter. Like there's just a whole kind of different vibe with his 90s stuff. Like there's definitely a change there. Let me read the synopsis off of IMDb really quickly, and then I'll throw the ball to you. So, this movie is about an insurance investigator discovering the impact a horror writer's books have on his fans is more than inspirational. Let me read a different one. Let's see. Here's another one
Yeah.
off IMDb. With the disappearance of hack horror writer Sutter Kane. Well, I wouldn't say he's a hack because they say he sells bigger than Stephen King, so that's
Yeah.
already wrong. Um, hack horror writer Sutter Kane, all hell is breaking loose, literally. Author Kane, it seems, has a knack for description that really brings his evil, creepy crawlies to life. Insurance investigator John Trent is sent to investigate Kane's mysterious, vanishing act and ends up in the sleepy little East Coast town of Hobbs End. The fact that this town exists is a figment of Kane's twisted imagination, is only the beginning of Trent's problems. All right, so that's a little better. Have you seen this movie before? Or was this your first time watching?
No, this is actually one of my comfort horror movies. I
Oh
used to
shit,
watch
really?
this when I love this movie because I also love Sam Neill, and I'm a huge on like creature features. The Thing is like one of my all-time favorite movies, and I remember watching this, and this kind of like pulls from like that 90s kind of over the top crazy horror with some like wild body horror. I like love this movie. And the funny thing is I had no idea because I watched this when I was younger. Because, my dad, I was actually, Dad, we're going to rewatch this movie. My dad's in town. So he was the one who introduced me to like all these horror movies when I was way
Mm.
too young, probably, which is fine. Um, so I love this one. I had no idea this was John Carpenter though, till I started rewatching it. I was like, oh my God. And I had no idea this was part of like the Apocalypse trilogy.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you heard? And I was like, dude, I was like, I should have known because when we were watching it, my dad's like, oh, this looks like the creature from The Thing. And I was like, yeah. I was like, oh my God, John Carpenter. Yeah, The Thing. Yeah. This is all, it all like goes hand in hand. So it was actually really fun rewatching it this time.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So the third part of his kind of unofficial Apocalypse trilogy, the first, I believe, being The Thing, the second being Prince of
Yeah.
Darkness, and which we still need to talk about. I
Mhm.
don't think we ended up doing it this past year, but and then this one. And yeah, for me, I mean, yeah, second time watching it, I like it. I think it's pretty good. There's something about it that doesn't quite land for me though. But for the most part, I do dig it. And I think if you're a Carpenter fan and you haven't seen it yet, then this is like one of those kind of must sees. And yeah, man, where was I going to go from there? I think the concept is really great. I kind of love the idea of, oh, there's this horror writer and when people read his books, they kind of lose their minds and go crazy and commit acts of violence and whatnot. And that's interesting. And this idea of him being the insurance investigator who's like, trying to investigate fraud, like fraudulent claims, and the fact that he thinks, oh, it's all just a publicity stunt to sell the book and all that, blah, blah, blah. And, we'll get to the bottom of it. Like the fact that he's such a non believer. And I like that, but I don't know. Somewhere along the way, it kind of, I don't even want to say goes off the rails for me, but I don't know that it executes it as well as it could have. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any take on that?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole reason I think it's like one of my comfort horror movies, just so kind of like a little bit ridiculous. And I don't want to say it's kind of, it feels almost low budget, but it feels almost budget. You know what I mean? Like it's not, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think this movie's scary at all. I don't think there's anything scary about it. Um, it just feels like an over the top kind of body horror movie more so than anything. Like even with the cut-ins, it's just very 90s. The acting is just very 90s too. It's just very, I don't know. I enjoy it so much because I think it's just kind of silly.
Hmm.
So maybe that's what you're getting from it, that it's just kind of like all over the place, but not all over the place. And then the creatures at the, I mean, there's just so much going on.
Yeah, I do.
There's a lot going on in it.
I
But I mean, I
do.
think
Oh, sorry. What was that last bit?
no. I'm just saying, yeah, like, like I love the cosmic horror. I think it's just kind of all over the place. And I think like it really is like a not very scary 90s horror movie. you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't find it very scary at all. I think there's a lot of potential for it to be that way. And if I saw this as a kid, it would definitely freak me out. As an adult, not very scary. And I feel like in this, more than maybe any other movie he's done, really leans into the jump scares, like just loud noise and something whatever. It just there's a lot of that, a lot of the jump scares kind of moments, which does feel a bit different from a lot of his other work. I think he's better about drawing out tension and all that, as opposed to just like, oh, here's the jump
Oh,
scare,
yeah.
here's a loud noise again,
None
here's
of that.
another loud noise. Yeah, there's too much of that, and in my opinion. And K and B did the effects for this, that being Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, and Howard Berg. One of the biggest, best effects companies there is. And yet somehow, you brought up the kind of low budget look to this. And I think I read that they did cut the budget at one point when they started. I forget by how much. So there's a whole sequence they had to change because they ended up getting, money got cut. But what I was going to say with K and
Yeah.
B is, even though they're like some of the best, a lot of it just, I don't know, some of the creature effects, like I like it, but they almost look too like early 80s. You know what I mean? Like they should have
That's
looked
yes.
better. Yeah, they
Yeah.
should have looked better by this point. Like one kind of key moment is, when the kids riding, and this is kind of a creepy moment, is when they're driving and it's just like pure blackness around the car at night when they're first getting the Hobbs End, and there's a kid on the bike, and then all of a sudden it's like an old person, like a young man's body, but like an old person face, and it's obviously a mask. And like I think that could have looked better. I was kind of surprised. Like it looks like something you'd see out of like Evil Dead 2, like trying to be a little goofy, of which,
No,
Nicotero
100%.
and friends also did the effects. And yeah, it's like
It
that
really
moment.
does look like that though.
Yeah, yeah, some of the other creature stuff, and I think I was really kind of taking myself to task on. There's so many movies that I would cut a break, but for some reason with this one, I like my mind won't let that happen for the most part. I mean, I definitely cut it slack, but not as much as I probably could, and I think it might be because I can't help but like subconsciously, like when you do a movie like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, what, almost a decade prior to this, 86 or 84 was that movie, I think, maybe 87.
84.
And then now
82,
you've,
82.
oh, it was 82 even earlier?
Yeah.
Then getting here, it's like when you already show me how good that is, you can't take a step backwards. You know what I mean? And then when I see some of the stuff here, I'm like, and I don't even want to say backwards because I love Canby. I think what they do is great. But for some reason, like I said, I think it's because by default, you get put in that kind of comparison, and there's just like you're not
Yeah.
you didn't improve on the form.
100%. No, and I agree with you. And I think that's why, like, I was saying it doesn't feel like a horror, like, The Thing is a horror movie. The way they build it up, the way, like, I mean, there are no jump, like the way everything pops out, the way everything works. It is a horror movie. With this one, it almost feels like a story. I don't know how to explain it, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Kind of over the top. There are a lot of jump scares there, which kind of, I don't know, it's very out of character. But then the movie just doesn't feel like, I mean, but it's like Big Trouble in Little China. You know what I mean? It's just like one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
weird movies that don't really fit the filmography. But I'm like, I think it still works, but it feels very low budget to me. It feels very like over the top and kind of silly. And I don't know. I get what you're saying because I'm like, is that what they were going for? Because I don't think it is, but that's what I got, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It does feel, even when they're in the town and everything, and yeah, there's like the crowd of kids and the parents banging on the door at one point, but it still feels like they couldn't afford enough people. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and I guess
Yeah, no,
they're
100%.
yeah, but I guess it does because it's like the book and it's being written. Maybe it kind of makes sense that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that honestly like doesn't bother me. At all really. It's noticeable, but it's not like a minus for me. I will say on the not very scary tip though, Because I was thinking about that watching the movie. I'm like, a lot of this should be scarier. And, Gary Keebe shot this one. He did a lot of Carpenter's films. I think maybe even more than Dean Cundey did, if I remember correctly, or about the same amount. But one thing I was thinking about, from the cinematography perspective and the lack of scare is I almost feel like the movie's too brightly lit for too much of the time. Like it could have gone a
Hmm.
lot darker in certain moments and scenes and points, but I'm like, yeah, maybe a lot of it is just there's too much light right now. It's too bright, you know?
And it's supposed to be like, your descent, and there was really no slow descent into anything. And it just, yeah, no, I agree 100%. It didn't feel like there was no, they didn't really set up any sort of, God, what is that word I'm looking for? Like ambiance. You
Yeah,
get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but
I mean,
like,
I do
I mean,
think as far as like, you use the word descent, like I do feel that the descent into madness and into the crazy, I think that's handled well for when he's sleeping in the car and she first like drives into this new like fantasy element and how things are unfolding and even Styles right? Tells him like, oh, it was supposed to be a publicity stunt, but then these other things are happening and none of this is part of the plan. Like I kind of like that. I wouldn't call it
yeah,
a twist, but the fact that like he was right to start, but then it became very
yeah.
real. And I will say, one shot I think is brilliant in this movie is early on when he's having the meeting with I forget who the guy is, but they're in like the restaurant,
Coffee shop.
and then
Yeah.
yeah, and the camera has them in the two shots, so you can see out the window as that crazy guy is coming towards them and like hopping over stuff and eventually breaks the window. Like I like that they hold it there. That is like a very John Carpenter move. And
Yeah.
I just think that shot was brilliant to let it kind of play out over time. um
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that was a great opening shot. But that was like the only shot that they kind of did in that sense where, us as an audience got to be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Because there was really no sense of dread. I
Yeah.
mean, like, no sense of dread here, which is why this is my comfort movie.
Wait, what was the last
Because
part you said? Sorry, after no sense of
oh, there,
dread.
which is why it's my comfort movie.
Oh,
Because
right
after I'm
before
like,
that.
oh, there's no other scene where like there's any buildup or anything because there's really no sense of dread throughout it.
Yeah. And that's the comfort
But
aspect.
I do like, I do like after that when he's like this amazing insurance guy and he's going to town and he's like, okay, we got to. I do love that shot when like supposedly, she's driving. Oh, did you? I was like looking up some kid on the bike. Somebody said that was Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, the kid on the bike near the end of the movie. Yeah, Hayden Christensen. I was going to bring that up.
That's so funny because I was like, huh, this is like, and I like, somebody was like, that's Hayden Christensen on the bike. I was like, is it? That's pretty wild.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I remember looking that up. I was like, that looks a lot like Hayden Christensen, and sure enough, that's the credit. I guess it was. I think it was his first movie too, and not bad. Good for him. It's crazy to
Look
think
at him
too.
now.
Yeah, talk about a roller coaster. Yeah, just what this is 95, so just 6 years later or 7 years later, he would do Star Wars and all that. um,
Right.
but I do like there is a moment that I kind of think is cool when they're trying to escape in the car, and then no matter what they do, they keep ending up in the little like town square with that mob, and it repeats like three
Mhm.
times. And I love that it's like clearly the same shot too. Like I thought that was kind of interesting and kind of neat. Like that's always a scary thought to me is like trying to get kind of like Blair Witch Project, how they are like, we've been walking for hours and we're in the same spot, stuff like that. Like that idea of like, no matter where you go and what you do, you just end up in the same place right after. I did like that aspect of it for sure.
But yeah, I mean, everything besides the effects, I really, I mean, I love this story. I loved, oh my gosh. And then all right, so what, I can't remember this woman's name, who played the hotel innkeeper. What's her name?
Oh, I forgot.
You know who I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right? She's like,
Happy Gilmore's grandma.
yes,
Happy Gilmore's
yes.
grandma.
It's so funny because when I'm watching this movie, and then the guy who was in the bar, he played the bad guy in Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters 2. Yeah.
Ghostbusters. I was sitting there, I'm like, man, so many familiar faces in all these movies.
Yeah.
This is hilarious.
I was gonna say though that that is a creepy moment, like a genuinely creepy shot. This is on like some Takashi Miike type stuff. Is when she's at the desk and you see that she's like kicking something and you hear like moaning, and then when the camera goes down and like the old man's handcuffed to her leg, just like naked laying there, is that's a pretty disturbing shot. Like
It
that
is.
that's a
It
good
is.
like not like scary like jump scary moment, but just yeah disturbing and super creepy, especially when earlier in the movie he's like, she couldn't butcher, you know, the guy or whatever. That's literally that little old lady. But even her, when they find her and she's in like monster form after she chopped him up, and I like that that was a moment where they kept it dark and didn't show too much of the creature effect in the light. I think they struck a good
Yeah.
balance there, and that was kind of reminiscent of the Thing for sure. But also, again, like not quite as strong, you know, which is like, man, it's 95 now. Like this should be a little better. But I feel weird. I feel weird. Like I don't want
I
anyone to
know
take
because
it the
I
wrong
love
way
them
that I'm
so
like
much.
clowning on it. Yeah.
No, but like even when like I think one thing that just kind of not bothered me, but no, it didn't bother me. That's not the right way. Like that kind of took me out when it was supposed to be this very, very, very creepy scene is like when Linda, right? Linda, when she's like getting out of the car, but she's supposed to already be possessed.
Hmm.
So she's like upside down. But it's one of those things I'm like, it's just done so like, I would expect like they do like a far off shot and nothing on her face moves. It's a mask on somebody. But sometimes they'll like get a close up and they'll do like weird animatronics or like
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it more realistic or something. They didn't do that either, but maybe that goes back to the point that there is no budget for it. I just felt like little things like that, they could have really upped the horror and like, the atmosphere and like try to give us more of that, what they're trying to do in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's certain moments that they missed for sure. But then, like we said, maybe, I mean, they cut the budget. And this movie didn't make that much more over their budget when it opened domestically, I think. I don't think it did very well.
Yeah. Yeah. And because it feels like it's, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say fell into obscurity, but I mean, maybe like I said, it's definitely one of his least spoken about movies, I'd say, but I guess you can say that for all of his 90s stuff, with the exception of Escape from LA. And now I'm getting an idea because I know last year I never got around to this, but I wanted to do a episode on the podcast that's like just all John Carpenter, like just talk about the whole career. And now I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe this October I'll do a series on, maybe I'll break it into decades of John Carpenter. So like 70s, 80s, 90s could be
That'd be
interesting
fun.
to like focus on each kind of decade and see how it evolved. Cause yeah,
Yeah.
90s Carpenter is it's something.
Yeah.
It's
Like even
something.
Village of the Damned and everybody, like, I mean, that, and like,
And
yeah.
Village of the Dam I like for the most part. Um but yeah, it's another one that just doesn't quite yeah, just I don't know. It just isn't doesn't live up to what came before. But I do like that movie, and that's another one that I like vaguely remember, like as a kid, would be super creepy. Like that was one where the cover art on the box of the tape like broke me
Yeah,
out.
with
Just
the
like
little
the
kids
three
and the blood
kids and the
in the
eyes
eyes.
and it's
Yeah.
they're kind of like
I
silhouetted. Yeah,
I distinctly remember that at Blockbuster. And I
yeah.
never got to rent it, but I distinctly remember
Yeah,
that
and
box.
I always thought that that movie was 95, but I guess it was later. Maybe that was like 97 or something. Now I got to look it up.
No, I think that's 95. You're right. It
The
is
same year
95.
as this one.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
this one was 94, I think.
so on IMDb it
It's
says 94
94.
at the top, but release date was February 95. It said.
Yeah.
So, oh
I
shit, yeah,
think because they
95,
had a
Village of the
release date,
Dam.
their release date was in Italy first. It's
Yeah, so according to
Village
IMDb,
of the
Mouth of Madness was February 95 and Village of the Dam was April 95. What the heck? That's crazy. So I guess we're gonna have to do Village of the Dam next. All right.
I'm down.
To be continued.
Did you ever watch his work, Body Bags?
I did. I put that one on
I
at
have
your
Body
house.
Bags too with
Remember
Toby.
the anthology one? with like Mark
Oh my
Hamill.
God, yes. Yes. I was like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess we didn't really
It
watch it
was
though,
like
because I
funny. That show was
remember, yeah, I remember we put it on in the background when we were shooting something. But yeah, I've only seen it one
yeah.
time, so I got to revisit it. But yeah, so I'm gonna throw that
I'm gonna
idea for the podcast. There needs to be a John Carpenter retrospective through the decades coming in October,
the
everybody.
decade. I'm so down. I would love to do that. We should do that. I'm into it. I'm
Yeah,
into
for
it.
sure.
But yeah, this, I mean, and then I think when this one kind of got crazy, and this is what I really like. I like when it does kind of like go off the rails and then the creatures come out. One of my favorite scenes in it was when they find what is his name? Sutter. They find Sutter and he was sitting there and he's like typing and thing. He's at the place and then Linda's over there and she comes in and he's like, you can edit this from the inside. I thought these were all stories that I was making up, but they were telling me. And they have that big bloody door and it like curves
Hmm.
out slowly and it's all sticky and she like slowly turns towards it. I'm like, oh, I love that. I thought that was great. But then the creatures.
Well, they don't show him too much. And I was reading, like, I'm not very familiar with like H.P. Lovecraft, but I do know enough to even just by some of the creature designs that there's an influence there, like Cthulhu and all
Yeah.
that, or Tulu. And, just kind of reading about the movie and listening to John Carpenter speak about it, a lot of Lovecraftian influence, and even a lot of the names of the books are kind of derived from that, from the titles of those books. And then obviously, the kind of Stephen King was an inspiration in terms of, even though they
Yeah.
mention him as a person like that exists in the world of the movie, clearly that was a big influence, just like him and Castle Rock and all that. So I do like that idea. But yeah, in the end, when things go crazy and now he's gonna just kind of stay locked up in the loony bin because everyone's going wild outside. That's where I feel I don't know, like I don't want to sit here and rewrite the movie, but it would have been, I don't know. I think the concept again is there, but maybe if there's another way to take on the concept where it's not like we're gonna go find him in this little town and it turns out the town was created because he wrote it and now it's a psychological um kind of horror thing. I just don't know. It would have been interesting to see more of the world react to the books and all that.
Yeah. To know, what was actually really happening or because, I know it's his descent into madness. And it's funny because I'm like, well, he didn't read the newest book. Like he read the old books, but he never read the new manuscript, right? And that was what
Yeah.
she was like, you didn't read this one. And then I was remember my dad was sitting there like, I don't really read. So what would happen to me? And I'm like, but they talk about that. They say they're making a movie, and
Right.
that's when everybody really loses it because of the movie. But I was thinking, because I know, like, when the kid walks out who just reads a new manuscript and his eyes have that split thing on the,
Yeah, yeah.
and then John was like, did you like it? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, then perfect. And he axes him down.
Hmm.
I'm like, is he like trying to stop the spread? Like, you know what I mean? Or is he trying to keep this, like, the madness from happening? Because he didn't go mad. He kind of went mad, but he didn't have the same madness that everybody else had.
Yeah. Because when he's in the prison, he's like trying to tell them what happened. Because the movie is him telling them the story, right? It opens up with him being locked up,
Yeah.
and then he's telling David Warner, I think that was his name, from Straw Dogs. He's telling him like what happened, and then we get into the movie, and he's like, everything's going crazy out there, isn't it? You could just keep me in here. And yeah, so hence, kind
Yeah.
of the apocalypse. And I do love that though, like his journey getting back home and when he's on the bus and all of a sudden he wakes up screaming and it's like the blue lighting and all that. um, but when he's in Charlton Heston's office and he's telling him, like, yeah, I don't know who Linda Stiles is, this person I sent you, and you gave us the manuscript 6 weeks ago and all that.
Yeah.
Like, all it was interesting to me, and the way Sam Neill is just like, wait, what? And and that is a funny line, when he's like the people that don't read, and he's like, well, the movie's coming out next week. I love that line.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel bad. I hate to see people go through torture like that, like Sam Neill, especially the end when he's in the cinema
and he's watching clips from the movie we just saw, and when he's like laughing and then it goes into crying and the movie ends, which is a great performance from him, by the way. It's crazy to think that this was a couple years after
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, and he's kind of underrated. I still need to see Event Horizon. We'll add that to the September October list.
I,
I know.
it's one of
That's
my favorites. And
that's
like
why we
he's
got to do
amazing
it.
in Possession. Like he's fucking fantastic. We have
Yeah.
to. I love Event Horizon.
No, Possession is nuts. I finally watched
I
that
love these
a
little
few months ago, and I was like, one, he just looks creepy. Like when he was younger, he just looked really creepy in that movie. I feel
bro.
bad saying that,
Look,
but he just had a look. Like,
yeah, like he would murder you.
yeah.
He looked like he yeah. Yeah, he looked creepy as fuck. Like he definitely he got hotter with age. I thought he was so hot in Jurassic Park.
Really?
I loved that movie.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sam Neill's one of my favorites.
Well, in the
But
mouth of madness.
definitely, solid acting from him in this at the end. Like sometimes throughout it was just kind of crazy. But yeah, this movie, I mean, I love rewatching it and watching it. I think it's just so silly and over the top. Was not scary at all to me. Even when I was younger, it wasn't scary to me. I think it's just because
Really?
the effects were very,
Even when you were
oh
younger,
yeah.
younger. Damn.
Even when I was younger, it's not scary to me.
Yeah, I could see this really freaking me out like as a kid, but most things freaked me out when I was, really young, like elementary school and all that.
Gosh. See,
But
the things that scared me were like, all right, so Dolls scared me. Child's Play
yeah,
scared me.
dolls I
It,
will not see. I will not. I like that. That's one like I saw a chunk of that movie as a kid, and to this day, as much of a horror fiend as I am, that's a movie I won't watch again. Isn't that Sam Neill
I,
too? It's Sam Neill, right?
oh my
Isn't he
God,
also in that
he did
movie? And then
that.
doesn't he
Yeah,
get
yeah.
transformed into a doll? I'm pretty sure that's the part I saw, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm never gonna watch this ever. Um,
I love, I love that movie. It's great.
yeah, we're definitely not doing that.
Yeah. No killer dolls will pass.
Yeah, Child's Play gets a green light. Dolls, no. um,
Child's Play, I was crying watching it, and then I had to stay, and my aunt was like, look, there's credits. It's not real. And I was like, oh, it's credits. And I just laid in my bed and cried at night. I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever.
Dude, that ending after he gets burned in the fireplace and he's like walking towards Andy down the hall with a knife. And it's clearly like a little
Oh,
person
yeah.
in a suit, but it looks so again, talk about a movie that came out way earlier that looks so good. Every effect in like pyro and animatronic in that movie is so goddamn good. And like the perfect switching to like a person in a costume to the actual, animatronic doll. Like
Yeah.
it's seamed together very, very well. Child's Play. But yeah, all right. Well, I don't have anything else to say on this one. I think it is worth checking out if you're into horror movies or you're into John Carpenter and this is one you haven't seen yet. Not the best work by any means, but it is worth seeing. If you already like his movies, definitely worth checking out, and then maybe you'll appreciate it even more than we did. But
Yeah. It's a fun one. It's a fun one. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, it's, I put on in the background. I look over. I'm like, cool. But by no means will you be like enthralled or will you be up thinking about this movie later?
Yeah, like a name. All right. Well, that's a wrap
Woohoo!
on this one, everybody. I guess I'm adding Village of the Damned to the list, so we will do that very soon.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Drinks and a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks and a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksandamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.